Today we're going to be talking about the ethics of data mining in the age of social media. I'm going to frame this the right way, right from the start. This is not a tech topic. This is a power topic because data mining on social media platforms influences what people see, what they feel, what they believe, and what you buy, and sometimes what opportunities they get or actually don't get. So the professional mindset for this lecture is simple. Just because you can collect it doesn't mean you should. And just because something is legal doesn't mean that it is ethical. So here's where we're going today. We'll cover what data mining looks like on social media, why consent is messy because I click the report is not the same thing as a meaningful consent. We're going to talk about privacy risk, including the reality of re-identification, manipulation and engagement optimization, how metrics can create and harm. We're going to talk about bias, fairness, and discrimination, surveillance, trust, and what professional guardrails look like, and then a quick mini activity to train your ethics as a decision-making muscle. Now, when people hear data mining, they often picture spreadsheets and customer lists. On social media, excuse me. On social media, it's much bigger than that. Data mining here means finding patterns that predict or influence behavior. It's how platforms decide what to show you next, who to recommend, what ad to serve, and what content gets boosted and what gets buried. Now, on a social media platform, the data can include everything from what you click, like, share, or save, how long you watch something, what you scroll past, who you interact with, and how often. Everything from your device, your location, your time, and even your contact signals. And here's the ethical pressure point. The most valuable data is what platforms can infer about you, even if you never said it out loud. Everything about your mood, your interests, and your vulnerabilities. We can identify your political leanings, your purchasing intent, your relationship statuses. Inferences are where ethics get a lot complicated because people can't consent to what they don't understand. Now, the consent problem is a real thing. Let's talk about consent a little bit. Now, ethical real consent should be informed, understandable, specific, voluntary, and revocable. No, now compare that to a normal user experience. Inside that, we have legal language nobody reads. We have bundled permissions, either you take it or you leave it. We have vague statements like to improve your experience, settings that are hard to find, hard to understand, and hard to truly opt out of. So the question is clicking accept meaningful permission for deep profiling? Now, in the real world, that becomes a conflict between business pressure for maximum data and the ethical responsibility for meaningful consent and user control. Now, a lot of people think privacy means remove the name, remove the email, we're good to go. That's a very much a beginner definition. Privacy is not just identity. Privacy is control, expectations, and exposure, especially exposure of sensitive inferences. And here's the part that surprises most people. Anonymous data can often be re-identified. And they can do this by combining your location patterns, plus your timestamps, plus your behavioral fingerprints. Add a few unique actions, and you can narrow it to one person very, very fast. Even more so if the data gets joined with other data sets. And privacy harms aren't only someone finds out who you are. Harms include everything from profiling without awareness, opportunity denial based on inferred traits, predatory targeting. We've all seen our senior citizens have that happen to them. You get reputational damage. Public officials really have this happen. We have manipulation that never feels like manipulation. So our professional rule is that if the data could hurt somebody, if it's leaked, it's sensitive, whether it has a name attached to it or not. Now, this manipulation and engagement at any cost is a big, big problem. But the next problem is engagement. Most platforms optimize for one thing and one thing only. That is engagement. And engagement often increases when you trigger outrage, fear, tribal identity content, addictive loops, and constant novelty. So here's the ethical tension you'll face in analytical careers. You may be asked to improve a metric that makes user well-being worse. And we have examples of this, everything from increasing time on the platform, improving click-through rates, raising daily active users, increasing retention. Like how many of your toddlers or small children have you seen that are wildly addicted to those applications on their phone? That's data collection in a very unethical way. Now, the real question becomes, are we optimizing for the user's goals or the company's goals, because improving a metric can still be harmful. A dashboard can look successful, while the humans are way worse off for it. So there is a thing called bias, fairness, and the data made me do it. Now, bias, data reflects society. Society contains bias, so data always contains bias. Bias shows up when some groups are underrepresented, historical patterns embed discrimination, proxies stand in for protected traits, everything from your zip code, your device tag, and your language patterns. And then the algorithms amplify what's already unfair. The data made me do it is not a valid excuse. A professional analyst has to ask who benefits from this model, who gets harmed, what assumptions are we encoding, and what outcomes are we creating. And there's a hard rule for this. If you don't check for bias, you are actively choosing bias. And we have the surveillance. We have surveillance and trust and a whole lot of creep factor. Now, the surveillance has gotten to be a very, very big problem. A good ethical gut check is what I call the creep test. If a user say, how did they know that? Wait, they track that? That feels really invasive. That means trust is already being damaged, even if it's technically legal. Because ethics isn't just law. Ethics is also trust, transparency, respecting reasonable expectation. And in the business side, when trust collapses, people leave. Reputations absolutely burn down, regulators show up, and the platform loses long-term sustainability. So if you feel like you have to hide what you're doing, the ethics of data collection is already off. Now let's look at real-world ethical dilemmas. This is a slide where we get very practical in nature. Here's the things analysts actually are asked or get asked to do. Collect more data, just in case. That violates the rules of data minimalization. We collect what we need, not what we can. Target vulnerable users. Stress, loneliness, addiction, financial instability. These segments exist across the globe, across all groups. The ethical question is, are you helping people or exploiting them? If you're exploiting them, then you're doing unethical data analysis. Make the dashboard look better. We want to cherry pick those metrics. We want to hide some of our negatives. We want to frame our results in a way that makes us look the best and is actually actively dishonest. That's not analytics. That's propaganda. We get often told to test this without telling users. We do A/B testing on content, and that exposure can shape mood, beliefs, behaviors. Ethical testing needs guardrails and harm review. And then we'll be told it's anonymized, so it's fine. We can collect all that. Not if it can be re-identified and used to infer sensitive traits. Your job in these moments is to not panic. Your job is to name the risk, propose guardrails, and offer ethical alternatives that still support our business goals. So what does a good look like in this realm? There are some practical guardrails that make good. First is transparency. Explain in plain language what's collected and why. Consent with real control. Real opt-in, real opt-out, not buried behind settings. And the rule of data minimization. Only collect what is needed for your purpose. And purpose limitations. Don't reuse data for unrelated goals. That's almost like plagiarism in high school and college. If you didn't collect it for this purpose, you don't get to use it elsewhere. Security by design. Treat the data set like it can cause harm because it absolutely can. And fairness testing and monitoring. Test outcomes across groups and keep testing that outcome. And finally, accountability. We always document our assumptions, decisions, and our trade-offs. So ethics is built into the process that we're doing, not promised in a mission statement. For you to be a business or data analyst, ethics is always built in. Now let's do a little bit of mini activity. Ethics as a decision maker. I want to do a quick exercise with you. I want you to pick one feature. That might be targeted ads, recommendations, people you may know, the trend ranking stuff, or content moderation automation. I want you to think about and answer four questions. You're not turning this into anybody. I just want this to be a mental exercise. What does data what data does it use? What are the business benefits? And what is the biggest ethical risk? What's one guardrail would you require before you shipped that out? So if we're talking about targeted ads and collecting data from people seeing those ads, you know, what's the data being used for? Who's the business benefit? This is how professionals think, not vague opinions, specific risks and specific controls. Now, just to wrap up, the big questions we need to do is can we is not the same as should we. Data mining is and social media is powerful because it shapes behaviors, decisions, and opportunities. And in the real world, you will feel pressure to prioritize growth metrics over ethics most of the time. Your job as a professional in this field is to be able to say, here's what we can do, here's what we should do, here's the risk if we cross that line, and here's how we hit business goals with our guardrails. That's what an ethical analyst looks like. Take this mindset straight into your case study. Be specific, use evidence, and don't dodge those trade offs. If you need me, let me know. Otherwise, do your case study.